Two actresses have accused former President George H.W. Bush of groping them and following that type of sexual assault with an incredibly corny joke that they did not find funny, but rather offensive. Now, this story first broke yesterday when an actress by the name of Heather Lind shared her story on an Instagram post, which has since been deleted. She had written in the post that he, meaning George H.W. Bush, touched me from behind, from his wheelchair with his wife Barbara Bush by his side. He told me a dirty joke and then, all the while being photographed, touched me again. She also continued, so this story made headlines yesterday, and part of the reason why I didn't cover it was because there was a lot that was unclear to me at the time, right? So for instance, he has been wheelchair bound for the last 5 years, and sometimes you accidentally, touch someone in a way that you didn't mean to touch them. I didn't know if that's what happened. I didn't know if it was intentional. As soon as the story broke, a spokesperson for Bush released a statement apologizing for the joke, and then I'm like, oh, that seems like a bit of an admission, but still things are a little unclear. But now, recent reporting indicates that no, things are pretty clear. A second actress has come out and provided some evidence of him doing something incredibly similar. So first, let's take a look at Heather Lind's photo. This is what she posted on Instagram. And this doesn't show any evidence, but it shows the picture in question. He allegedly grabbed her behind while this photo was being taken, okay? And Deadspin reported on this and said more than a year ago, a tipster passed word about the Heather Lind incident to Deadspin. We were told that Bush had, during a photo op, groped her and told her that his favorite magician was David Copperfield while fondling her. Really? You think that's acceptable? Like that is, wow.
No, of course it's not acceptable. So look, you can't do it, and that's why these stories are important. Now, the only reason why it's all a matter of degree, right? And first of all, none of the degrees are acceptable. It's never acceptable to grab a woman's ass without asking her. That's obvious, right? Most obvious thing in the world. But to some in the older generation, unfortunately, it's not obvious. So you know that because he's making a joke about it. He in front of everybody. He's like, haha, David Copperfield, because I am grabbing your ass, even though I'm a former president.
Okay, so he's from a different time. Doesn't matter. He makes the joke, and it's out in the open. And allegedly, Barbara Bush just kind of rolled her eyes at it, and just kind of made light of it. And so, following Heather Lind's account of what occurred, there's another actress by the name of Jordana Grolnick who says that she experienced something very similar. In fact, she wrote, I got sent the Heather Lind story by many people this morning, and I'm afraid that mine is entirely similar. In August of 2016, Grolnick was working at a main production of Hunchback of Notre Dame. The former president caught a performance. He came backstage during an intermission, she says, and she had the rest of the cast gathered for a photo. So here's the setup. Here's how it all starts. Then she says, we all circled around him and Barbara for a photo, and I was right next to him. He reached his right hand around my behind, and as we smiled for the photo, he asked the group, do you want to know who my favorite magician is? As I felt his hand dig into my flesh, he said, David Copperfield. And then she also provided a photo, where you can see his hand touching her behind.
Okay, so the reason why this is not Weinstein level or O'Reilly or Ailes level is one, he doesn't hold power over them, although he's a former president, I grant you that. It's also about intent. Like those guys, almost same exact pattern. They would isolate the women in a room, they'd be in the room with them. They would ask for sex and then they would touch them in all sorts of different ways. There's all these different things that they did. This is a guy who clearly does not know that what he's doing is wrong. That's why he's making a joke in front of everyone, including his wife, about David Copperfield. Now, it doesn't mitigate that he's doing it. And the reason I like these stories coming out is so that even 93-year-olds understand you can't just grab people's ass anymore. And apparently, maybe back in the day, they thought that that was perfectly acceptable. It is not acceptable, okay?
Yeah.
But in his own mind, and you could disagree with me and say, I don't care what his mind is, but he did not have malicious intent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have broadcast it to everybody, right? And so, and look, some of the older folks, and look, you could argue Ailes and Weinstein and O'Reilly are also old, but 93 is a different level of old. He served in World War II, etc. It's not, again, not an excuse. I'm just saying some of the older folks sometimes will use words that are outdated, like colored people. They don't mean, I don't like black people. They don't know that people don't use that word anymore.
So,
do you see what I'm saying? So I love that the story's coming out because it leads to more education so people stop doing it. But it just doesn't feel as evil as the other guys.
So, look, I get what you're saying. You know, he grew up in a different time where it was totally okay to grope people, women namely, and you know, feel this entitlement in regard to putting your hands on someone else without consent. But he's living, like he knows. I don't care what his intent was. His intent was to grab a woman's ass without asking permission ahead of time, right? It has been around, he knows how much society has changed. So I'll give you an example. When I was in middle school and high school, the F word, and I'm not referring to fuck, was thrown around left and right, and no one even cared. It wasn't offensive, it wasn't considered derogatory in any way. And guess what? Society has changed, it's progressed, and that word is unacceptable. And I never use that word. I know that using that word is wrong. I would never use that word and then use the excuse of, well, when I was growing up, that word was totally acceptable. No, society changes. And he's a president, former president, okay? He knows better. He is not entitled to grabbing anyone's ass. I don't care if he was born 93 years ago or if he was born 100 years ago or 500 years ago. Doesn't matter. If he's alive today, he knows that society's changed.
But that's my point, which is that he might not know. So, you know, when people say colored people, they don't know. They're not trying to rub your face in it. I think I heard not the other day, but a while back, someone even actually still used Chinaman. And now some folks that use that, they know what they're doing and they're total jerks, right? And some folks are just like stuck in 1950. And remember, this is the George H.W. Bush who got in a lot of political trouble because he didn't know what a scanner at a grocery store was. He's like, whoa, what is that? How does it tell you the price? He didn't know the price of milk. I mean, he was known for being clueless. I mean, he's a smart guy, way smarter than his son.
It's a low standard. But
yeah, I hear you. Very low bar, right? Okay, so for the 18th time in this story, I'm not excusing his behavior. What I like that the story is coming out not as a ha-ha to the George H.W. Bush, but as a way of educating folks. If you lived in the old school and you thought that was acceptable, it is not acceptable. That is sexual assault. And people are justifiably very mad about that. Now, whether you think it matters what his intent is or not, that's a fine, I hope that's a fine disagreement.
I mean, just one other point that I want to make, okay? You're taking this photo with these actresses while your wife is there. Like, even if we lived in this crazy society, which, you know, pretty recently we did live in this society where it was okay to just grope women like that, right?
Yeah.
What happened to family values? You're there with your wife and you are grabbing another woman's ass right in front of her. Unacceptable. Unacceptable on every level. So no, I can't get over it. I can't get over like the excuses. I can't get over the apology / non-apology they released. Let's just quickly read that for you. This is from a spokesperson for Bush. At age 93, President Bush has been confined to a wheelchair for roughly 5 years, so his arm falls on the lower waist of people with whom he takes pictures.
Okay, let's pause there. It's for me to agree with Anna that that's a terrible excuse.
Yeah, but it gets worse. To try to put people at ease, the president routinely tells the same joke. And on occasion, he has patted women's rears in what he intended to be a good-natured manner. What? No, that is not a good-natured thing, okay? You don't touch a person's ass thinking that it's completely okay and you're entitled to it. Some have seen it as innocent, others clearly view it as inappropriate. To anyone he has offended, President Bush apologizes most sincerely. Wow.
You're right. That's a terrible. Now that I've reread, that's a terrible apology. I good-naturedly sexually assaulted you, and if you were offended, well, I mean, Jesus, okay, I guess we apologize.
Some people understand that it was good-natured. Those are the good people. But if you were offended, we sincerely apologize.
All right, but Anna, super last thing. Let me ask you. Do you feel any differently if George H.W. Bush does it in this manner or Trump does it? And the reason I ask that, or by the way, it could be Trump or Clinton, right? To me, it feels like Trump and Clinton know exactly what they're doing, and it feels way worse. But I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking you, as opposed to H.W. Bush.
Here's the thing. Regardless of who it is, if someone puts their hands on me in any way that I don't want or like or didn't consent to, I'm gonna have the same reaction, emotion, and feeling toward it, right? And so I get where you're coming from, right? Trump has a certain level of sleaziness to him that might make me feel a little worse about it. But no, I think at the end of the day, when you're violated in that way, you're violated. Remember, I shared the story of the guy who grabbed my ass at a YouTube event. And I liked that guy. I was a fan of his. And it was such a degrading feeling, and I just kind of brushed it off and put it in the back of my mind because I didn't want to think about it again. And so it doesn't matter, if you agree with the person's ideology or if you like the person or hate the person, it just you feel violated.
I hear you. So you're the better authority on this. I have also had my ass grabbed, but not in the same way, obviously.
Yeah.
And mine was in the middle of an assault. But anyway, we'll tell that story in the post.
Wait, what?
I'll tell the story in the post game. TYTnetwork.com/join.
Jeez, okay.
Okay, interesting. But I will defer to your judgment, and I hear you that Bush certainly, and by the way, I agreed with this from the beginning, that he doesn't get a pass.
Yeah.
Right. It just feels a little different for me than someone who's maliciously doing it, but you're the better judge. Help us build independent media together. Come join us. TYTnetwork.com/join.